Tischler, founder of the New Horizons Golf Approach. Today I want to talk to you about how the spine tilts and how the angles that the spine are tilting in influence the path of our golf swing. When we get set up to the ball, we have the initial way that the spine tilts is what we call primary tilt. When we set up, we actually push our hips back and our upper body bends forward. This puts us in the initial tilt. The forward leaning of the spine angle towards the ball is what we call primary tilt. The function of the primary tilt is to actually put our body in a posture that allows us to swing on an inclined plane. By getting the club to now go up, around, and behind us and come back down and out to the ball, we're actually swinging on what we call an inclined plane. So that primary tilt, depending on what type of biomechanics you have and what type of swing you're going to generate, is going to influence the angle, the basic angle of the inclined plane of your golf swing. Now, for most golfers, that inclined plane actually fluctuates during the golf swing. Some golfers will actually go back a little bit low and then they lift up. So that club is actually traveling in and then up. That's what we would call a floating plane or graduating plane in the golf swing. Even so, we're going to see that it's important that we have secondary tilt. The second type of tilting we have in the golf swing is what we call secondary tilt. Secondary tilt is the sideways tilting of the spine in the golf swing. In general, we're interested in seeing that our spine is going to tilt rearward as we get set up to the golf ball, or somewhere during the downswing we have to make a move where we have that secondary tilt leaning in the rearward direction as compared to leaning in the forward direction. This is why it's important that we have secondary tilt working in that manner. If I get set up to the golf ball and I tilt my spine forward from this position, if the club follows the rotation of the body to the top of the backswing, my shoulders are going to rotate in this manner, and we're going to see that that club is going to go up outside the line and it's going to want to come back down outside the line. If I get set up with secondary tilt that's leaning away from the target, now we're going to see that when I make my backswing, because of the way that that secondary tilt is established, as the shoulders rotate, the club's going to want to come more to the inside. So, a lot of people argue that if I keep the spine perfectly straight, that as I rotate my shoulders, that'll have the perfect degree of inside rotation and planing in the golf swing. Well, this is not exactly true. Because of the way that our hips rotate and our weight shifts as well, if I have a perfectly straight spine at address and I strive to rotate my shoulders this way, something in my body has to hold me in position. Otherwise, what happens is as the weight shifts and I try to turn this way, I get drift going on in the action. If I set up the secondary tilt so it's leaning backwards a little bit, and I keep that secondary tilt as I rotate, we're going to find the club automatically comes to the inside going back, and it also is going to want to come from the inside coming down. And since we're swinging on an inclined plane, and that club needs to go inside and up the inclined plane going back, and it needs to come down from the inside plane coming down, we want to make sure that as we're making that downswing, we have enough secondary tilt to keep this swing coming from the inside down the inclined plane. All right? Well, a lot of people will get set up, whether it's a stack and tilt version or other systems that say you want that spine to be very straight. These golfers at the top of the backswing now need to do something with their hips to create that secondary tilt during the downswing. This is where we hear a lot of people talk about bumping the hips during the downswing. Again, if I set up without secondary tilt leaning away from the target and I go to the top and I just start down with my rotation, it's going to go outside. If I go to the top and I bump my hips to create that secondary tilt, it helps me get that club back to the inside so it can come down the inclined plane into the golf ball. So, when you want to make a swing that's coming down the inclined plane into the golf ball, you have to make sure that during the downswing you have some degree of secondary tilt. Whether it happens at address, whether it happens during the backswing, whether it happens during the transition, or whether it happens during the downswing, you need to have it in the stroke if you're going to make sure that club comes from the inside with the right degree of inclined plane into the golf ball. I have two alignment sticks here. If I set these alignment sticks up, so one of them starts in the vertical axis where my spine begins, and I put the other one across my shoulders, we can get an idea what happens when I tilt my spine in the golf swing. If I go ahead and I just tilt forward, now at this point I have the proper amount of tilt, or I have the type of tilt needed so that my shoulders can actually rotate in a manner where they rotate on an inclined plane. If I go ahead and go this way and then I add what we call secondary tilt in the rearward direction, when my shoulders rotate, we'll see they want to rotate a little bit more to the inside going back, and they want to come a little bit more from the inside coming down. If I go ahead and add that primary tilt and then I tilt forward, we'll see my shoulders want to rotate outside to in. So understanding how the tilt of your spine influences the path of your golf swing is very important. Golfers that have a tendency to have too much outside rotation have a tendency to keep their spine tilted more forward during the downswing. That's what is commonly called the over-the-top move. Okay? Golfers that rotate from the inside, well, they have more tilting rearward in the spine so that they can come more from the inside. Now, of course, everything happens in a matter of degrees in the golf swing. You know, you can have too much or too little primary tilt. You can have too much or too little secondary tilt. You need to find the degree of primary tilt that helps you get that club swinging on an inclined plane naturally, and the degree of secondary tilt that allows you to have the right amount of inside move so you can approach that ball from the inside coming down. I hope this helps you understand how getting your body in the proper posture with the proper spine angles is going to help you get your swing on the right path.